sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hinnant.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hinnant.
Welcome into Tuesday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. The Tush Push, brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, debate continues at the NFL owners' meetings. We'll get into the latest with all of that because a lot of people seem to have a lot to say today about it. And we have some very explicit reporting out there about this. So we're going to get to that information. And also, Nick Sirianni had some interesting nuggets to say. Not Nick's nuggets, but just Sirianni nuggets when it comes to an Eagles player's future as well as his own future. Of course, you guys can join the conversation throughout the hour, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. So I kind of want to, kind of go broad and then get more specific here, okay? So big picture for those who haven't been, glued to your radio all day, maybe you haven't been glued to everything that's going on in the news all day. Here's the quick Reader's Digest review for you. So, from what we understand, what Rob Maaddi told us last week on 97.3 ESPN is 100% true. And what Rob Maaddi said just a few days ago has played out in real time. Because Rob told us here on 97.3 ESPN that they did not have enough votes to either ban or change the rules when it came to the Tush Push, the brotherly shove play. Now, the number that Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports came out with, he suggested that they were 8 votes short of having the number. They had 16 people who would have voted yes to getting rid of it and banning it, but you need 24 to change a rule. It's kind of like, you need a certain majority in order to, overturn a presidential veto in Congress or, to make an amendment part of the United States Constitution's Bill of Rights, from the states voting, all that kind of stuff. There's a certain majority that's needed by the NFL teams when it comes to these issues. What's interesting is that NFL owner Roger Goodell continues to propagate a false narrative when it comes to this topic. Because Roger Goodell told the media, quote, "I think there are safety issues that are being considered. We have very little data from it, but beyond that data, there's a lot of discussion about going back to the previous rule. I think that makes a lot of sense." And this gets back to the larger point. The point that has been made by Rob Maaddi, that was made by Ian Rappaport, that was made by many people who cover the sport. And that is, as Peter Schrager points out, there is no safety issue. There's nothing data-wise that says this would be a safety concern, despite what Sean McDermott and other people bring up.
The league is one of the main sources of hey, we don't have any injury data to push that it has to be removed. If this was a bunch of injuries and guys were getting concussed and we have data, hard empirical evidence that there are knees being shattered because of this thing, well, then I promise you the league would be pushing that direction. They don't have that data. There is no data around it.
And that's where the real problem is. The problem is with this whole debate is that this is turning into if the Eagles didn't win Super Bowl 59, if they had not reached the most important game of the year twice in the last 3 years, mostly behind the thrust, no point intended, of the brotherly shove play, then would this be even a debated or discussed topic? And I think that this is really, as Peter Schrager goes on to say, this is turning into a contrast where the people who are against Philadelphia, like the Sean McDermotts, like the Sean McVays, like the Raheem Morrises, they are now being portrayed as being anti-Philadelphia and, not real tough guys. Take a listen.
Howie obviously didn't play college or professional football. Howie's, this brilliant mind. But talking to Howie about he got his chest out a little bit, oh, poor babies, you guys can't stop it. There's a little bit of that. And that bleeds throughout the entire city, and it goes, we're just tougher than you. Bring it. And you see these coaches, and McVay is obviously, you saw him in Whitworth in the gym. He's no softy, but he's it's just not good football. It's gross. It's a rugby play.
And I think that is the other side of it. There's a lot of people arguing about the aesthetics of the play. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look good. It doesn't have the aesthetic that we want. And that is something that Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie, he addressed 2 hours ago when he spoke to the media, when it was brought up to him about the critique of people who say this play, it just doesn't look like a football play. Here's the Eagles owner 2 hours ago.
I remember reading about the forward pass, and they said it really was an odd play that is no part of American football, and so it was controversial when the forward pass came out. I think aestheticism is very subjective. I've never judged whether a play looks okay. Does a screen pass look better than a in route or an out route? I don't know. To me, it's not a very relevant critique that it doesn't look right or something like that. I don't know what looks right. Scoring, we like to win and score.
And I think that at the end of the day, this is not being discussed objectively because I think the other side is just trying to come up with any reason they can to get rid of the play. And the Eagles are trying to paint everybody else as idiots and soft and not cool and not tough. And I think that's part of the problem with all this. And that is, instead of us having a conversation about, Mike Gill was bringing up earlier on the Sports Bash, about the competitive advantage it is for the offense to be able to push their guy, the ball carrier, but the defense has no recourse to push back. Instead of discussing competitive advantage, we're in a position where we're talking about the health. We're talking about aesthetic. We're talking about if it's a real football play or not. And at the end of the day, it actually is very much a football play because it's football the way it was played back in 1890, 1900, 1910, 1920. So I don't know if that makes it more or less a football play because we've evolved the game beyond that over the last 100 years. But that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to, if it's not a health issue, if it's not a safety issue, and if we're arguing an aesthetic, why are we not discussing the competitive advantage? Well, it seems like nobody cares about actually having real arguments and conversations in today's age. And it's sad that the NFL, which is the billion-dollar industry of American economics, one of the largest financial generators in the country, can't even have a discussion as adults because everybody else wants to complain about everything except for the issues that are on the table. And to point where the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, said 2 hours ago he claims that the tush push is actually safer than the quarterback sneak. This is an interesting argument from the Eagles owner.
Quarterback sneak is one of the reasons we like using the tush push is we think it's a safer play than the quarterback sneak. The quarterback sneak, if you talk to quarterbacks about it, there's more spearing going on. They're less protected by players around them. One of the reasons we got motivated to develop an expertise in this play is it was more protective to the quarterback.
I would like to be a fly on the wall when the Eagles owner says that to any of the other 31 teams. Just because I would like to know their reactions to that. I would love to see people like Sean McDermott and Rich McKay and different people from the competition committee hear that explanation that the tush push is safer than the quarterback sneak. I do not necessarily know if that's true or not. I think it could be possible. I just, from the... I mean, listen, we've all watched the play a gazillion times at this point. Anyone who has watched this play executed enough times is well aware that this play is a play that involves a lot of moving parts, a lot of bodies moving. And I tend to believe, and again, I'm not saying that I am right, okay? I tend to believe that a lot of the pushback against this play is for frivolous reasons because someone's just unhappy that a play is working. And the Eagles owner echoed that sentiment earlier today when speaking to the media at the NFL owners meetings.
Don't ever remember a play being banned because a single team or a few teams were running it effectively. So it's part of what I think, I personally and I think most of us love about football is it's a chess match. Let the chess match play out. If for any reason it does get banned, we will try to be the very best at short yardage situations. And, we've got a lot of ideas there.
And it's really a shame that this play...
Let's see if we are in brotherly shove territory.
...has turned into...
All day, baby!
There is
You know that? The leader in quarterback runs for touchdown in the NFL, adding to it with another one.
Good job, baby. I got a mean push right there.
They kind of take that play personally around here, don't they?
Wilkins, right away, he stood him up. He's like, nope. I started pushing. I put my hand right on his stomach. I said, nope. I said, yeah, no, my ass.
Then this one play.
Let's see if we are in brotherly shove territory.
We can get more into it throughout the hour here on that.
All day, baby! You know that? The leader in quarterback runs for touchdown in the NFL, adding to it with another one.
Good job, baby. I got a mean push right there.
They kind of take that play personally around here, don't they?
Wilkins, right away, he stood him up. He's like, nope. I started pushing. I put my hand right on his stomach. I said, nope. I said, yeah, no, my ass.
To do so on offense. I think
Let's see if we are in brotherly shove territory.
I think that is where you guys
All day, baby! You know that? The leader in quarterback runs for touchdown in the NFL,
Sean McDermott, Rich
adding
McKay,
to it with another one.
Good job, baby. I got a mean push right there.
They kind of take that play personally around here, don't they?
Wilkins, right away, he stood him up. He's like, nope. I started pushing. I put my hand right on his stomach. I said, nope. I said, yeah, no, my ass.
It might be perceived a certain way, but Roger Goodell basically just came out today.
Let's see if we are in brotherly shove territory.
Eliminating all pushing and pulling.
All You know that? The leader in quarterback runs for touchdown in the NFL. Adding to it with another one.
Good job, baby. I got a mean push right there.
You know, they kind of take that play personally around here, don't they?
Wilkins right away. He stood him up. He's like, nope.
Fair, and I started
pushing. I put my hand right on. I said, nope. Say, yeah, no, my ass.
If teams could stop it,
let's see if we are in brotherly shove territory.
Was the idea that he doesn't remember.
Pushing forward.
You said no all day, baby. You know that.
The leader in quarterback runs for touchdown in the NFL. Adding to it with another one.
Good job, baby. I got a mean push right there.
You know, they kind of take that play personally around here, don't they?
Wilkins right away. He stood him up. He's like, nope. I started pushing. I put my hand right on. I said, nope. Say, yeah, no, my ass.
And I think if you look at the Eagles players on social media,
let's see if we are.
It has become very clear that guys like Lane Johnson, they are taking this as a level of motivation. I think that if you as an Eagle fan should be happy right now, not because the play might get canceled, but because the Philadelphia Eagle players are taking this as an offense. And the Philadelphia Eagle players are treating this as a slap in the face. We always have the question about a team with a Super Bowl hangover, right? A team, are they the kind of team that's going to let what happened last year get to them? And it appears as of right now that a lot of the Eagle players are not taking this seriously. And I mean seriously in terms of they're looking at this play specifically, and they're saying, oh, you don't want us to do this? Guys like Lane Johnson saying, hate us because they ain't us. Earlier today. If you were ever worried about the Eagles and a Super Bowl hangover or a letdown, I think that this debate about them and the tush push and the play and the legality of it, I think is going to motivate them. It's going to propel them, and it's going to make them look around and say, all right, that's how you want to treat us? Watch this. And I think it's going to be the law of unintended consequences. You don't want to poke the bear, because if you poke the bear too many times, you're going to get bit. And I think the NFL does not know that they have agitated the bear that will hurt them the most. Because Philadelphia does not need the tush push to win games. They have a massive offensive line, a great offensive line coach, a championship winning quarterback, an elite running back, an elite wide receiver duo. And now you're going to tell them you only won because of this one play? And you don't think the players are not going to take that personal? We'll get more of your text a little bit later this hour. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. There is more going on in the world than just the tush push, because Nick Sirianni was asked about the future of one of the Eagles players, and he gave an answer that is a clear sign to me, folks, that this player's days are numbered in Eagles green. We'll get into that and why coming up next on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
Fakes right, turns left again, turns right, flips it up and in!
Fadeaway corner three, got it! With 64 games in the books, Florida, Duke, Houston, and Auburn now make their stand at the Alamodome for a shot at the title. Just 2 wins away from claiming the 2025 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Tune in this Saturday to hear Westwood One's exclusive coverage of the NCAA Final Four.
Listen to the NCAA Tournament, the Final Four, on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins after Major League Baseball.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. One more cooler than normal day coming up tomorrow, and then warmer, unsettled weather returns for the rest of the week. Tonight looks pretty chilly. Clear skies, low around 34 degrees. And tomorrow still on the cool side, sun to clouds, high of only 50. Jumping to 75 on Thursday, warm but cloudy with a few hit or miss showers around, mostly cloudy showers, and 67 Friday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
picking up in South Jersey, and so is the hiring game. The weather is warming up, and soon, business will be booming. If your business isn't ready, your competition will be. Whether you need a killer crew for the busy season or fresh stars to take your team to the next level, now is the time to make your move. Town Square Media can help you find the right people fast. No stress, no waiting, just the best hires for your business. To learn more, go to townsquaresouthjersey.com. That's townsquaresouthjersey.com.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll get back to the text board in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. I will admit that the fact that we're spending so much time talking about this tush push brotherly shove play, it does almost feel like an April Fool's joke. So I do want to assure everybody that this is really happening, and that's how stupid some of this conversation is. That it almost feels like it should be a joke, but it's not. Before we move on from it, though, and before we get to more of your texts, I did want to play for you what Nick Sirianni said about how they came about to using the tush push. Because I think his explanation, combined with something else that Jeffrey Lurie said earlier today, gives us some insight in what Philadelphia is going to do if the tush push is made illegal or they modify the rule, which is what the latest reporting is from multiple outlets, that instead of banning it, they're just going to modify the rules in order to basically discourage the way the Eagles have been doing it, right? And so they have to do a quarterback sneak another way. And Sirianni explains that the tush push play came from their observations of Jalen Hurts doing the quarterback sneak. Take a listen.
We played Detroit, and I think we were up 38-35 with a quarterback sneak to be able to kneel it out. And then kind of from there, it was like, that was a pretty important quarterback sneak to happen. Let's make sure we get him, and so that kind of evolved from there. We, did different formations, different pushers, and then we turned it into two pushers, and it was a cool evolution.
And I think that gives you a little insight into if the Eagles are forced to move forward without that play, you already have an insight into what the idea is. You don't sign a guy like A.J. Dillon. You don't talk about re-signing Saquon Barkley, how important he is to your team. You don't keep trying to retool the offensive line if you're not already planning for life without that play. Because life without that play means you're going to run wishbone, triple option, full house backfield, multiple play formations that put multiple bodies behind the center and leave the defense wondering where exactly the offense is going to go. Philadelphia does not need to keep running this play. They can literally just say, you don't want us to run this play? Watch this. We're going to put A.J. Dillon, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and fill-in-the-blank tight end in the backfield. And we're just going to run everyone into gaps, and Hurts is going to get a first down anyway, because at some point, you, the defense, will run out of people to come get the quarterback. Because if I have 5 offensive linemen and I'm sending 2 running backs and a tight end into the formation, now I have 8 on 8 already covered, which means you are running out of people to stop me. You are down now as a defense to 3 players who can stop the quarterback from running up the middle. So to me, I think Sirianni's explanation tells you, look, they only did this because they were trying to think of a better way for that quarterback sneak. You don't think they're already planning for the potential that this play will be made illegal? You think the NFL is going to catch them? Oh, man, what are we going to do without the tush push? Oh, my God. Of course they're not doing that. Don't be silly. Jeff from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says it makes no difference. If they ban the brotherly shove or not, Jalen can still get 1 yard on his own. That's part of it. I think also, Jeff, it's like what Jeffrey Lurie said. You don't want the quarterback getting speared in a pile, so you got to have a way to protect him. And if you can't do the tush push, maybe it's something where, like I drew up, the idea of you got the 5 offensive linemen, you got the 3 men with the quarterback in the backfield, and now you're just sending 3 more bodies into the line to pick up blocks and create space for the quarterback. I do think there is a legitimate way that this play can still function, just not in the push manner, but without the push. Now, Nick Sirianni had more to say than just about the tush push, and I thought that the biggest answer of the day, the biggest news of the day, has nothing to do with the brotherly shove play. It has to do with this comment from Nick Sirianni when he was asked, Dallas Goedert has been a guy who has been rumored for almost 2 months now that he might no longer be in Philadelphia. It has been reported and speculated by numerous people. This is not a report that is going away anytime soon. The question was brought up to Nick Sirianni. Hey, Dallas Goedert, he's been a key part of your team for years. He's been a valuable player. And there's rumors that he could get traded. He could be let go. And when Sirianni gave this answer this morning, I sat up real quick and I thought, did he really just say this?
Right now, he's on our football team, and obviously Dallas Goedert has meant a lot to us. We'll see how that plays out. He's a heck of a football player, heck of a leader, and we want to be able to have back as many guys as you possibly can, but that is not the reality of the NFL. We got a lot of, so we'll see what happens and how that happens, but of course you want everyone back.
He's on our team for now. We know we can't get everyone to come back. We would like to have everyone come back. I mean, talk about the most unendorsing endorsement of all time. I mean, Nick Sirianni might as well just sign his death certificate. Like, Sirianni talked about him like he was already gone. I remember this offseason, Rob Thompson, when they asked him about the Alec Bohm trade rumors, he said, we're not trading Alec Bohm. I don't know where that came from. I called Alec Bohm myself and said, we're not trading you. I mean, Rob Thompson took the trade speculation about Alec Bohm as almost like it's personal to him. Nick Sirianni turns around and talks about Dallas Goedert like he's already gone. If any of you were wondering Dallas Goedert's future with this team, and you had any doubts or any concerns or any, those reports are fake, well, Nick Sirianni doesn't help your argument. Nick Sirianni basically just buried his tight end. Because, frankly, he didn't even say anything good Dallas Goedert does, except for he's a great leader. Dallas Goedert had a key role with the Philadelphia Eagles this year. There were many games in that postseason run where he outshined both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And now all of a sudden, he's just a leader. He's just a guy. He's on our team right now. I mean, wow. And with him saying that, now we get back into the conversation of, are the Eagles drafting a tight end? Now we get back into the conversation of could the Philadelphia Eagles be heading into the NFL draft, which is just 3 weeks away? You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN, by the way. Could they be entering the draft looking for their next starting tight end, or at least a guy who can compete with who they already have in-house? Which, remember, they did sign Harrison Bryant this offseason, and I know for some of you out there, you're rolling your eyes. But as I explained to you guys a month ago at 97.3 ESPN.com, Harrison Bryant is a guy who was originally a high-level receiving tight end. But he had a poor pro day. He did not do great at the combine. It hurt his draft stock. He was stuck behind David Njoku for years in Cleveland, and he was stuck behind Brock Bowers and company with the Raiders. So he has not really been given a legitimate opportunity since college, when he won the John Mackey Award, which goes to the best tight end in all of football. All of college football, I should say. Went to Harrison Bryant. Harrison Bryant accounted for basically a third of his team's offense that year. An offense that scored about 36 points a game. I'm not saying that he is the guy, but I'm saying he is an option. I know what some of you are going to out there say. You're going to say Eagles need to trade up and get a tight end. Okay? I am not sold on the idea of trading up for the tight end from Penn State. And here's why. And I know this is going to be sacrilege to some of you out there because there's a lot of Penn State fans out there. And I'm not trying to undercut your guy or anything like that. But if I'm keeping it 100% with you, I don't know if Tyler Warren is going to be the all-time talent that people think he's going to be. For the simple fact that I think Penn State runs such a intermediate level offense. I have no idea of how much of what we saw from Warren was because he's a great athlete and how much of what we saw is because he's the best athlete Penn State has had on offense since Chris Godwin. Because you could be a great athlete and not be a great football player. You could be a very physically gifted man and not be a man who's great at playing football. So, when you talk about a guy who has played multiple positions in high school and college, I don't know if that positional and athletic versatility necessarily translates the way some people might hope. And I don't know if it's worth trading up from 32nd overall to get a Tyler Warren. I just don't know if that is the smart move at this point. Because it might be better to just stick and pick. And my mind goes back to what Howie Roseman said yesterday on the Up and Adams show. On his perspective, this will be the second time he is picking 32nd overall, and the third time Howie Roseman is picking at the end of the first round of the NFL draft.
Being at 32, the beautiful thing is you get to observe everyone else and see what's left. Last time we were at 32, we had an opportunity to trade back. Got a heck of a player in Dallas Goedert. Got a future second-round pick. A couple years ago, we were picking just above it, 30, because there were only 31 picks in the first round, and we got Nolan Smith, so those are good results. We got to make sure that we continue to add good players.
That doesn't sound like a guy who's looking to trade up. That sounds like a guy who's going to let the draft come to him. Howie said, hey, look, we've traded back. We've let the draft come to us. He's like, it's a pretty good spot to be in, he said. That doesn't sound like a guy who's sitting there saying, oh, man, I need a tight end. I got to go get Tyler Warren of Penn State. And frankly, the guy the Eagles might be looking at much more closely than Tyler Warren of Penn State or Colston Loveland, they might be looking at Harold Fannin Jr. of Bowling Green. Now, Fannin Jr. is not a guy that I necessarily want them to draft. I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't love it either. But remember, the Eagles did hire Scott Loeffler, the former head coach of Bowling Green last year, to be their new quarterback coach. And if Scott Loeffler gets into that room with those guys and starts singing Harold Fannin Jr.'s praises, the Eagles might be walking out of there with a guy who some people think is the third best tight end in this draft. Now, there's also the other option that the Philadelphia Eagles draft multiple tight ends in this draft. There's a scenario where they walk out of this draft with both Elijah Arroyo from Miami and Gunnar Helm of Texas, or potentially Mason Taylor from LSU and Orlando Gadsden II. I'm sorry, I messed up his name so bad. Oronde Gadsden II from Syracuse. Wow, I botched that name bad. The point is that you can walk out of this draft with multiple tight ends and go into camp and just have a massive tight end elimination chamber match where everybody's competing for jobs. And there's only 2 men left standing at the end of the night. Or at least at the end of August. Coming up on the side, we'll check back on the text board. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. I see text coming in. Dan from EHT. Jeff from Ocean City. As well as Drew from EHTs. We got 2 HTs and 2 Ocean Cities to get to. Coming up on the other side, your messages and more. Josh Hennig, Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Tuckahoe Inn in Marmora for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just 2 deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let's get to your text at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Josh Henning hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios for one more segment this hour. Dan from EHT chimes in and says, that's what makes Sirianni a good coach. He is a realist. He already knows Goddard is gone. I don't know if that makes Sirianni a realist. I think that that's more about... I think Sirianni admitted last year that he used to give out too much information. And I think he has become much more measured in the information he gives out. That's why sometimes we accuse him of word salad, because sometimes he'll go on for 3-4 minutes and say a lot of nothing. And you're like, I lost 3-4 minutes of my life listening to the explanation. So I don't think it's about him being a realist. I think Sirianni is trying to give out as little information as possible. And I think part of giving out that little information as possible is not saying Goddard is or is not going to be here moving forward, but kind of hinting that, listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. He's our guy now, but that might not be always the case. Jeff from Ocean City says, I'm a huge Penn State fan, but I don't want Tyler Warren in Philly. And I think Jeff understands what I'm saying, okay? I think the thing with Tyler Warren is that he is an incredible athlete, but being an incredible athlete does not always translate at the NFL level. I think you need somebody who is and I say this a little tongue-in-cheek. Okay, I'm saying this with a little bit of... I'm trying to think of the nice way to say this. I'm saying this with a little bit of understanding that when I say this is not going to sound the right way. But I'm just going to say it anyway, and you guys can judge me for it. You need someone who actually can fundamentally play the position of tight end. One of the reasons why you drafted Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert over the years was because these were men who played the position as tight end should be played. They were not players being squeezed into a position just because they're athletic. And I think that's my concern with Tyler Warren. Let me see here. Drew from EHT chimes in and says, Josh, they don't have to trade up to get a game-changing tight end like Tyler Warren. I'm a diehard Penn State fan, but the number 2 tight end in this draft, in my opinion, is even better than Warren. That is Harold Fannin Jr. He's absurd, big, fast, do-it-all tight end. And I want to hear, well, he played at Bowling Green. Watch his tape. Watch him versus the best college defense, Penn State, last year, too. By the way, I sent my text about Harold Fannin before you mentioned him. He is ridiculous. Every team went into their game against Bowling Green saying, just don't let Harold Fannin Jr. beat us. And listen, I think that is, again, as I mentioned, I think that's part of the reason why Scott Loeffler was brought here, because I think there is going to be an element to that conversation, Drew and EHT, of they already looked at him. Sirianni made the comment today to the media. He said, hey, we brought Scott Loeffler in here because he's bringing us ideas that we didn't have before he got here. You don't think one of those ideas is Harold Fannin Jr. and how he would fit into an offense with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown? Now, listen, there is a scenario, in my opinion, where you could walk out of this draft with both Harold Fannin Jr. and Elijah Arroyo of Miami, and now you put them in the same training camp with Harrison Bryant if you trade away Dallas Goedert, and then you say, let the best man win. Let the best of you three studs, you three 6'4", 6'5" monsters, athletes, just go out there and the best man do the job. That's certainly possible. And I think Drew from EHT it's a very interesting point about if he is the number 2 tight end, and again, it depends on which draft class you look at. I mean, if I pull up the one list, I pulled it up during the break. You know, CBS Sports has Harold Fannin Jr. ranked as the 3rd best tight end in the draft. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I don't think it really matters as long as you get one of the 5 or 6, because I think this is a fairly deep tight end draft class. If you were to ask my opinion as someone who is as college football is obsessed with anybody on earth, I can tell you that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 7 guys in this draft who I could see the Eagles picking. And Harold Fannin Jr. and Elijah Arroyo are just 2 of them. I think that's how deep the tight end class is. It's the same deal if I pull up defensive tackle, right? I could see the Eagles drafting. I'm sorry, I went offensive tackle. Come on, man. See, I don't understand. Why do these websites make the D and the O look similar? I mean, that's just bad job by whoever formats these websites and the fonts. Get a better font type, people. Come on. Grow up. Let's see here. I could see Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, Kenneth Grant, Omar Norman Lott. Running out of time here. Darius Alexander. Who else on this list can I see them drafting? TJ Sanders. Alfred Collins. That's 7 D tackles I could see. Oh, there's another one. How about J.J. Pegas? That's 8. 8 defensive. This is a deep draft, either way. And I think that it's the idea that if you don't get Tyler Warren, it doesn't mean you don't walk out of this draft with a very, very good player. And frankly, let's be realistic. How many people actually knew who Dallas Goedert was when the Eagles drafted him in 2018 before they drafted him? Most people didn't. I tend to trust the Eagles in their draft analysis. Thanks, everybody, for texting in. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN.
We're famous for a buffalo.
All right, folks, a quick post-show at Josh Hennig Live on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Not going to keep you guys long, but I had one more NFL topic to hit on that was not, tush push, tight end, Eagles related. There is a controversy going on right now in Dallas. Dallas Cowboys are imploding. And we may be seeing the beginning of the end of the Jerry Jones era. Here's what I mean by that. For those who didn't see the news, Jerry Jones stupidly made the comment that he basically doesn't think very highly of, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, of Micah Parsons' agent. All right? To which Micah Parsons basically went off on social media. And if you guys have learned anything from me having conversations with you guys right here on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig over the years, It's the idea that you never want to let the players think that you are the idiot. There's never a scenario where you want the players to think that you, the owner of the football team, are the one that is out of touch. Jerry Jones has officially crossed the line from Jerry just being Jerry over the last year to sounding like a petulant old man who's just telling everyone to get off his lawn left and right. So for context, here's what happened. So Jerry Jones, speaking with the media today, basically was asked about negotiating for Micah Parsons' next contract. And they asked about, hey, you know, he's got his agent, David Mulligetta. And Mulligetta has gotten some big name deals for his clients over the years. Among them, Jalen Ramsey, who formerly with the Jacksonville Jags, then went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. He's now at the Baltimore Ravens as Ramsey. And there's a lot of defensive players who have had him as their agent. And he has done a great job at getting players, not always the biggest in terms of like financial, but the most guaranteed money. Okay, which is actually more important than total money. You know, you want money in hand, not money that may never come, right? It's the idea that you may have a job that says, hey, we're promising you if you hit all of these incentives, we're going to pay you all this money. And you may say, well, I may never hit those incentives, so why would I hope to get that money? Jerry Jones made the mistake today of telling the media that, quote, Micah Parsons' agent is not a concern here. I don't know his name. To which Parsons got involved. He talked about his agent, even tagged him in it, David Mulligetta, and says, David is the best, and I will not be doing any deal without him. Like anyone with good sense, I hired experts for a reason, Parsons says on the Twitter X platform. There is no one I trust more when it comes to negotiating contracts than David. There will be no back doors in this contract negotiation. The Dallas Cowboys used to be one of the best run organizations in football. They are descending into the abyss. Because Jerry Jones, as he gets older, is becoming more and more angry, more and more stubborn, more and more contrarian, more and more obstinate. And I don't think that Jerry is losing it in terms of like, he's getting too old, his brain's not working. I think Jerry, and again, I'm reading into this as somebody who does a lot of observing of human behavior. I think Jerry Jones has gotten to a point where he does not realize that the players who he employs are no longer going to put up with him and his shenanigans, we'll call it. Micah Parsons calling Jerry Jones out on his rubbish is the next pillar that is going to fall in the house of Jones. We are seeing the demise of the Dallas Cowboys in front of our very eyes, because this is an organization that is not planning long-term anymore when it comes to building their roster. They are living in the present. They are making poor coaching decisions. They are making poor contract with player decisions. They are making strange draft decisions. This is an organization that is shooting themselves in the foot And I'm starting to wonder, at what point does Jerry's children have to sit him down and tell Jerry, stop looking for attention. You don't need to be out in front of the media every day anymore, because now you're sabotaging your own organization. You're hurting your own brand. You're hurting our product. To which Jerry might argue, I am the product, I built the product, and all that kind of stuff. But for a player like Micah Parsons, who is arguably, if not one of your best players, he might be your best player, okay? I know the quarterback gets the most attention, but Micah Parsons might be the best athlete on the entire team. Better than CeeDee Lamb, better than Dak Prescott, better than whoever you want to throw in there. Because with the retirement of Zach Martin, their future Hall of Famer, who played guard for them for a decade, you are not replacing the talent well enough in Dallas to keep up with the players who have aged out or who have left. You lost Tony Pollard to free agency. You saw Zach Martin retire. You have regressed as an organization. You never fully replaced Ezekiel Elliott. You never fully replaced not one but two Pro Bowl caliber centers over the years. You haven't replaced Tyron Smith well enough at left tackle. You have not done a great job at filling the blanks. And when Dexter Lawrence left Dallas and said what he said, and people made fun of him, even Cowboy players made fun of him, now you're seeing why he said what he said. Because Jerry Jones is acting ignorant. He is acting petulant. He is acting like an overgrown child. And the problem is, as some have said, when you don't have an adult in the room, the children are going to run amok. And Jerry Jones is showing his players he is no longer the adult in the room. The players have stolen the advantage from the once savvy business operator that is Jerry Jones. And now, Jerry, being Jerry, is putting his team in the worst position possible, which is great news if you're an Eagles fan. It's great news if you're a Giants fan. It's great news if you're a Washington Commanders fan, because that means that while the Commanders and the Eagles stay atop the division and the Giants hope to turn around their place in the division soon, the Cowboys will keep descending. The Cowboys are starting to turn into, very quickly, one of the most dysfunctional teams in football. And if anyone knows anything about football history, if you've watched the Cleveland Browns over the last 25 years, the Oakland, then Los Angeles, then Oakland again, now Las Vegas Raiders over the last 30 years, if you have watched the teams that have dysfunctional runs as a franchise, such as what we saw in previous years with the Cincinnati Bengals, what we are currently seeing with the Indianapolis Colts, what we have seen before the recent run with the Detroit Lions, when a team is being run by people who think they know it all they prove is they know absolutely nothing about what they think they know. Ignorance is bliss until it slaps you in the face. And Jerry Jones, very soon, is going to be professionally and business-wise slapped harder than he's ever been in his life. And he's not going to like it, because I don't know if his ego is going to handle it. Thank you for watching on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. I appreciate anyone who watches the post show or listens on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll catch you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel, at Josh Hennig.